Hester inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown.
Fields stumbling, trying to cut it back. Justin Fields making magic happen. There goes Fields. Touchdown!
Hurts on first down, fires downfield. It's Deshaun Jackson back in the lineup. Missed the last 7 games, and he will take it 81 yards. A somersault into the end zone. His first touchdown of the season.
You're listening to the Pigskin Project, the world's #1 football podcast. Now, with more insights on all things football, here are your hosts, Ben Hansen and Ryan Matthews.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 69th episode of the Pigskin Project, where we're going to talk about a little bit of weekly news, just a little bit, addressing some rumors, some possibilities, as well as the NFC South is starting today. We're starting with the Buccaneers and the Carolina Panthers as well. And then right after that, we're going to rank all of the head coaches in the league so far, and we'll get to that point as well because we're making 2 separate lists. And then after that, we're going to play some Weddle, and that'll be the show. But, before we dive in too deep, Ben, how's life treating you?
Fantastic. No, it's going really well. Like last episode, I've been working a lot. I've been working outside, so I'm getting a nice tan going. Looks all good. So I'm excited. My girlfriend's supposed to get back in town this week, so it's going to be good. But hopefully this episode we can break. I think it's like a 3 episode losing streak on Weddle. So hopefully we can get 4 weeks in a row.
Have you been practicing?
I have not.
I haven't either. Our odds are not in our favor.
No.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get into our first segment.
I guess
Ryan and Ben bring you weekly news.
So this isn't very much at all as far as weekly news goes. Normally we have a couple headlines. The only headline this week is DeAndre Hopkins got released. That's really the biggest news. For one, I just got to say I'm pretty confused. Like, first off, they were going to trade him. Then they weren't going to trade him. And now they just release him. Like, was the trade market really not that much? And especially because his contract, his contract is pretty crazy. So I understand that. And, maybe the Cardinals didn't want to pay it. Maybe the other team didn't want to pay it. The Cardinals ended up paying it anyway. You couldn't have gotten a late pick for him. Anything. And it's just an absolute loss for the Cardinals at this point. I think that they're signing up for the tank. It's not going to be very good. My next question would probably be, what does Marquise Brown think about any of this? I understand you're going to be the #1 wide receiver, but you're going to be the #1 wide receiver without your starting quarterback for a couple weeks. And just not in a good position to succeed at all. So are you looking at maybe demanding a trade or, requesting a trade, or are you just going to play this out? That's my thing. But for DeAndre Hopkins, a couple of teams are already in on him, and as expected as well. The Chiefs, Bills, Browns, and Giants, among others, are all interested in him. I know the Browns are more so like a dark horse candidate. He just signed with an agency straight out of Cleveland, and he's also gotten some recruiting, efforts by his old quarterback, Deshaun Watson. Might I just say I would love that. Just to see them go back at it again. That team would just be crazy as far as wide receivers go. I think it'd be pretty solid. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. I would expect us next episode to be talking about where DeAndre Hopkins signed, though. I think that it's going to happen pretty soon. But as far as candidates go and where you think he's going to sign, what are you thinking?
Yeah, no, I think the top 4 places, and I think top 5 places. And the reason I said top 4 because there are 4 that I'm confident that could get the job done, and then there's a 5th team kind of on the outside that maybe we could see that happening. But in terms of the top 4, I think it's the Bills and the Chiefs at top, and I think those guys are going to reign supreme. And I would be surprised if he didn't land at those 2 spots. But then the other 2 likely chances are the Patriots and the Browns. The 5th team that has kind of been drumming up rumors is the Cowboys. But I just think that's because they're the Cowboys and they're like America's team and so on. Yeah, but I don't think he'll land there. I said it as soon as he got released. I really think it's going to be Buffalo. And then it doesn't help kind of what he posted. I think he already took it down off his Instagram. But he posted this gray screen with a couple different emojis, and then in very, very a very light shade of gray, just barely different than the gray he posted. It said Buffalo in it. And if you zoom in on it, you can barely see it. So fans on Twitter are kind of going a little crazy about that. Again, the Bills would be the team that I think he goes to, because that was so the week before he got released, he created a list of the top 5 quarterbacks he'd want to play with. I think that was Lamar. It was Lamar, Jalen, Herbert, and then Allen and Mahomes. And that's the reason I think he goes to one of those 2 teams, because those are teams now that he can win a ring and also produce. I think it'll be the Bills. I think it's a good fit. He doesn't have to be the number 1 guy, but he still gets a decent amount of target share, gets to play with a team that wants to contend, and gets to play with a good quarterback. I would guess that's the team he goes with. But if he does want to be that number 1 guy, Chiefs the team to do it. So
yeah, no, absolutely. I 1,000% agree. I think if he wants to succeed now, I mean, you go to the team that has a wide receiver need and just won the Super Bowl with that. You play with the best quarterback in the game as well. He can make ridiculous throws, and hey, DeAndre Hopkins is a deep threat. And guess who can throw the ball really, really far? Patrick Mahomes. It's a match made in heaven, honestly. I think that this could be too good to be true, though. According to Vegas, the Bills do have the best betting odds to land DeAndre Hopkins. So just a little bit of a heads up there for those that can legally gamble. If they are wanting to do that, Buffalo is on the table. But I mean, the Chiefs are right behind them, and it's just, I mean, those are the top 2 teams. But I mean, obviously, that dark horse and the Browns, they're right behind those 2 teams. So who knows what can happen? And honestly, I'm here for it. I mean, this is the drive of the off season. This is exactly what you're looking for. You need something to stir up, and I mean, it's going to happen. Something is going to happen within the next week. I can't wait for that. Another thing that I can't wait for that I'm checking in on. So something to kind of keep track of. We didn't talk about this off air, so I just kind of want to spend a little bit more time because we have it. So I think that there's 2 announcements coming up soon, according to history and just, when that release date has come out. For multiple things. As far as Madden goes, I'm looking forward to that. I talked about it just a little bit with our fantasy football group chat. For those that play video games, I want to talk about the features just a little bit, just because it is football related. So PC is going next gen, which means more mods. So you're talking more roster changes, drafts, classes, stuff like that. Crossplay is also enabled, so people that are on next gen to next gen, they can play with Xbox users if they're on PlayStation and vice versa, but they can't play next gen to current gen. So for example, I can't play with somebody who has an Xbox, unfortunately. So more customization options for all modes, so you're talking equipment, stuff like that. Better franchise contract management, so you're talking not just releasing and editing or whatever, but you're also talking contract extensions, reworking contracts to make it a little bit better for salary cap reasons, stuff like that. Superstar mode is being substituted in instead of face of the franchise, because the goal here is to allow the career mode and new NCAA games to carry over to Madden. You can also play any position. That's the rumor, that you can play any position, but anything that I've stated previously is already confirmed, as well as the next couple things as well. New animations, so like new touchdown celebrations, First down celebrations, everything like that should be in as well. Like I said before, as far as the customization options, it is not limited to tattoos and better equipment as well. And the biggest thing that I think is huge, and it's just bringing back so much nostalgia. I don't know if you played this as a kid or not, but Create a Team for Franchise Mode is back. And I'm hoping that you can even go into, jerseys customizations and stadium customization and stuff like that, font on the jersey, stuff like that. I want the little things, and I want to be able to change the logo, stuff like that if I want to as well. I want it to be ridiculous. This is going to be awesome. So that's the first headline that I want to talk about that's coming out soon. But do you have any comments on that? Because this is huge.
No, I'm just hyped for it to be out. And like you said, the feature that I'm most looking forward to more than anything is just the cross-platform and the fact that, like, now as an Xbox owner and you as I don't know what you had. I know you had a PlayStation 1. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Now we can play, and I don't have to worry about buying a PlayStation. And not that I was going to, but it's nice because now that I was not going to buy a PlayStation just to play Madden with you. But now when I decide to upgrade to the next gen, I can stick with the same ecosystem that I have and still get to play it with you. So I'm really awesome. Excited about that, and I'm sure this is what you're going to get into next. But really excited for NCAA football to be back. Oh. That is the game I'm looking forward to the most. That is a game I played with my entire childhood, and I cannot wait for it to be back.
Yeah, that's actually, believe it or not what I was going to be announcing or just talking about. So yeah, that's expected for a year from now in the summer of 2024. That is very exciting. I'm looking forward to that a lot. But what I was wanting to talk about just briefly is the fact that Hard Knocks is typically announced around early June, because this is when, teams are starting to work through mandatory meetings and getting all that stuff done pre-training camp. So within the next few weeks, for sure, I would say definitely 2 to 3. We should hear which team out of the Jets, Saints, Commanders, and Bears could make Hard Knocks. And Jets. I believe so. I would assume that it's the Jets. The Saints. Sorry, Matt, but it's just not.
It's not. No,
it's just not on that same level. And according to history and just reports and just overall reactions from inside Hallis Hall, they're not very fond of the idea of cameras being allowed in the building while they practice. That's never really been something that they're huge on. I believe that, Greg Braggs was one of those people that brought cameras in, and that's how he's well known now. And so with that, it would be kind of shocking to see the Bears take that, but entertaining nonetheless. I think that would be probably, I don't know about you. I think obviously the Jets and the Bears are the most entertaining options, but I think the Bears would probably hold the most entertaining title for me.
Well, I mean, that makes sense as a Bears fan, but I think with everything that, like, with the Jets, with the whole Aaron Rodgers factor and the factor that, like, they have this established, MVP caliber quarterback with, like, this young group of really talented stars around him, I think that's the appeal for the Jets. But I wouldn't be surprised. It would suck, but I wouldn't be surprised if the NFL decides to do the Commanders with everything that has now happened with them hiring their new owner, and the NFL being like, look, this team isn't as bad as what everyone says. And here's the new team with the new owner and all that stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised if the NFL tries to push the Commanders into Hard Knocks just because they want the good publicity with how bad Dan Snyder was as an owner. With them being like, look, Dan Snyder's out. Look how good we are now. And that would suck as, like, a fan watching Hard Knocks. But from a business decision, it would make sense. But like you said, I'm really rooting for the Jets or the Bears here. I think those two have the two most, like, entertainment value of, like, the 4 teams that are eligible.
Speaking briefly about the Bears one more time, I didn't talk to you about this either, but this made me very excited. I believe this was yesterday or the day before. Somebody that doesn't necessarily make headlines made a headline on the website heavy.com. So this says the Chicago Bears could be on the verge of locking up one of their top young edge rushers, according to multiple league sources. Travis Gibson, he's 25 years old, enters the final year of his contract with the opportunity to take a major step forward. Quote from a league source with knowledge of the Bears' thinking told Heavy on the condition of he wanted to be anonymous to speak freely. He said they like him a lot. That's why they drafted interior help rather than taking an edge rusher. This spring, obviously, they invested 3 draft picks and interior linemen. But as of right now, Travis Gibson remains at the top of the depth chart. And so even though he had an unimpressive season, just this past season with just 3 sacks and 30 quarterback pressures, it's not really that big of a huge thing, but some people say like his dip in production could be credited to it being in the first year and the new scheme. Could be, who knows. So they're saying that if he can get somewhere between 7 and 10 sacks, that's going to get him that big money extension for the Bears.
Yeah.
I think personally, obviously I've got some personal bias towards him. I'm hoping that he cashes in on a little bit, but I think that he's too good of a depth piece for the Bears to lose out on right now. If they want to shop around and do some edge rusher, stuff, having him as a depth option, signing him to like a 1 to 2 year deal in the offseason is not that huge of a decision. I don't think that that's a big thing, but something just to keep track of. Just because if you're a longtime listener, you guys know that we have a pretty decent bias towards Travis Gibson.
Yeah.
And by we, I mean me and maybe you just a little bit. But anyways, let's get into our next segment.
You think you know football? Well, prove it. This is Pigskin Pick'em.
Sorry.
Real quick. Real quick. Before we start Pigskin Pick'em, I guess the other news, it's not like too big of news. It's more of like scheduling in the NFL. OTAs starts this week for like half the teams, and then OTAs starts like next week for the other half of the teams. So hopefully over the course of the next like 2 weeks, we get some like half decent news. Like it's not gonna be anything crazy, but hopefully it's more than just like one tidbit of news and stuff. So OTAs does start over the next like week or so, depending on your team. I know the Eagles just started today. I know the Bengals started today. So just watch out for that if you're a fan, because I know this is kind of the lull period after OTA. So these next 2 weeks are going to be probably the last football content that we get for probably the course of like another month or whatnot. But Jalen Carter did break a sled like Travis Gibson. So, but sorry. Anyways, Pigskin Pick.
Hey, pretty big. We're going straight into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I already have mine laid out and everything. But this week we're doing the Buccaneers and Panthers as we listed, before. So starting off, Ben, Buccaneers taking on the Vikings in Minnesota. What do you think?
Yeah, no, it's going to be rough. If anyone has seen videos like of their quarterback situation coming out of OTAs, you guys will understand why we're so low on them. Like they look like a JV quarterback squad. It's bad.
It's horrible. He's like overthrowing them. They're putting the ball too far into. It's gross. Anyway,
it's rough. But yeah, I have them. That being said, pretty easily, I have the Vikings winning this one.
Okay, my ring light just turned off completely. That's awesome. Anyways, pardon me for that. So, yeah, I have them losing this one. I'm going to make this one actually pretty quick. I have them losing their first 5. I don't think that's very bold.
Because I have them losing their first 5 as well.
So, for those listening that don't know the schedule, so we have them starting 0-5 against the Vikings, Bears, Eagles, Saints, and then Lions. And then they get their first win against the Falcons, I'm assuming, for you as well. Okay.
Yeah. In that first 5, what?
No, go ahead.
In that first 5 stretch there, if they were to win a game, I would say it's against the Saints. But even the Saints, I feel pretty confident. But of those 4 out of 5 teams of the Vikings, Bears, Eagles, Saints, and Lions, I'm really confident about all of them besides the Saints, and I'm fairly confident about the Saints as well. So
I will say this as well. I would probably have them beating the Saints here if it was in Tampa instead of New Orleans.
Yeah.
It's just New Orleans is that tough of a place to play in. So yeah, they'll beat the Falcons, but then the next week after that, they'll lose against the Bills. I think that's just pretty cut and dry. The Bills are just too good, in my opinion. I think that, like I said, pretty cut and dry. What do you think?
Yep. Like you said, I mean, we talked about the Bills earlier with DeAndre Hopkins. They're a championship level team. The championship level team should be able to pretty handedly take care of the Bucs this year. So yes, the Bills are going to win this one.
So the next 2 weeks, they take on the Texans and then the Titans. I have them winning both of these contests. The game in Houston as well as the game at home against the Titans. Going on a little bit of a win streak here. The last 4 weeks, they're probably feeling pretty good, honestly. I mean, winning 3 out of the last 4. So getting a little bit of a better start, but I mean, still a horrible team.
I have them actually losing against the Texans. I do have them taking the victory against the Titans, but I do have them losing against the Texans. We'll see how this changes when we end up doing like the Texans schedule. But I think the Texans are going to be a team that kind of sucks this year, but they're going to kind of be where the Bears are at, like this past year, where they win, like where they're in these close games, and maybe they'll take a few. So I do have them. I do have the Texans winning, but then I do have them turning around and losing to the Titans the week after.
Yeah. Okay. So you said losing to the Titans the week after, or winning?
They lose. Yes,
losing
they
to
lose
the Texans.
To the Titans. Or so they lose to the Texans and they beat the Titans.
Okay.
So they're 2. So they're 2 victories thus far. The Falcons and Titans.
Okay. So I just wanted to make sure everything was all accurate on my side as well. So the next one, they're taking on the 49ers in San Francisco. This one's not going to be close. That one's a loss for me. I'm sorry about cutting you off, but I just think that there's like not too much that we got to talk about here. This team's not good.
No, I mean, if I'm going to be honest with you, I have them doing a 6-game loss, and they're going to lose like all of the next 6 games, and then they're going to like win against the Saints and then lose. So, I mean, like, I know you said cut and dry. That's as cut and dry as they get. They literally win one more game the last, 8 weeks of the season.
I guess I'll just go ahead and sum it up as well. So I have them losing to the Colts, winning against the Panthers, and then losing out for the rest of it. So, I mean, for you, that's what, 3 wins?
Yeah, I have them as 3 wins. Yeah, and just to go over it, for me, it's loss to the Niners, loss to the Colts, loss to the Panthers. They lose to the Falcons, they lose to the Packers, lose to the Jags. Like I said, I could have seen them winning the Saints game, and the only reason I had them losing the Saints game was because of placement. But I think the Saints are going to come. They're going to come into Tampa Bay, and I think they will hopefully beat the Saints in Tampa Bay. So they get a win against Saints, and then they lose again to the Panthers. So yeah, that ends the season for them at 3-14 with probably the second overall pick.
Okay. I have them at 4-13 on the season. Pretty similar record there. So we're going to go ahead and dive into the Carolina Panthers here.
This will be interesting. I know I'm a little bit higher on these guys than you are.
Yes. Yeah, I know. I mean, so I talked a little bit of trash about them before, and to be honest with you, I didn't know that their schedule was, as difficult as it is right now. Because, looking at this right now, starting off, I'm higher on the Falcons than you are. I know that. So they start their season off against, I'll just list the first 6 weeks in Atlanta, and then at home against the Saints, in Seattle, at home against the Vikings, and then 2 away games in Detroit and in Miami. That's a rough start to the season. Right there, the Lions, I'm going to consider a playoff worthy team. The Dolphins were in the playoffs last year. The Vikings were in the playoffs last year, Seahawks in the playoffs last year, and the Saints and Falcons were both wild card contenders as well. Like, they're right there. It's tough. I don't know. So go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I have them losing all 6 of those contests. So
okay.
Yes, but you can go ahead and read me what you have.
I think their division is going to be really tight. So as far as their divisional games, I have them splitting dead even with the Falcons and Saints. I wanted to split dead even with the Bucs as well, but I really just think the Bucs are going to be that bad. And the way I decided that was just who was home. So I do have them losing to the Falcons because that will be played in Atlanta, but I do have them winning against the Saints because that will be played at Tampa Bay. So I have they lose to the Falcons, they beat the Saints, they lose to the Seahawks, they lose to the Vikings. And then in a shocking turn of events, some teams win games. Again, there's always a few games the teams win that they're not supposed to. Look at the Bears with the Niners. Yeah, look at the Bears with the Niners this past year. I think they're gonna win against the Lions. This will be that one oddball pick where I'm like, oh, they win a game that they shouldn't. So I'll have them win against the Lions, and then I'll have them take a loss there against the Dolphins. Starting the season 2-4, which is different than yours 0-6. So
yeah. So the next week they're at home against the Texans. I have them winning that one. Just because I think that this is a matchup. Really, I'm going to put Will Anderson in a position that's going to succeed. And when you match up these teams, I don't think that it's particularly close. I think the Panthers have that better roster right now. But these next 2 weeks are going to be fun with the Texans and Colts going to Carolina. But yeah, I have them winning against the Texans.
As do I. Yep.
The week after that, I have them losing to the Colts at home, just because.
Yep.
It just makes sense. I'm not going to have my Bears lose against the Panthers. That's just stupid. So I think the Bears improved a lot this year. We'll obviously get to the NFC North at some point down the line. But everybody knows how I feel about the Bears going into the season. I'm always overly optimistic. I'm going to shoot way too high. I'm going to say they're going to win 9 games to 11 games, and they're going to end up winning 6 or something. So, they'll probably fall somewhere in there. But I think that they're going to beat the Panthers, and that might actually be a game that I go to. So,
I'm going to say the Bears win as well. Honestly, the deciding factor in this game was the player that they traded away to the Bears, and DJ Moore. I think DJ Moore is going to kind of want that, that revenge. He's going to have that, that blood in his mouth kind of feeling, and he's going to go off for 121 yards, a touchdown or so. I think that's going to be the deciding factor. I think if DJ Moore was a Panther, I think the Panthers would have won. But that's the price you have to pay to move up to get the number 1 overall pick. But I do think this game is going to be a little bit closer than what you're going to get credit for. I think they're really outside of the wide receivers. I think both the Panthers and the Bears are pretty comparable. Obviously you have to look at the quarterback as well. But as an overall roster standpoint, I think the Bears and the Panthers are pretty comparable. But I do think you guys have the better receiver and quarterback. I do have the Bears winning in a close game though.
I hate that take. I think that the Bears are much better, and they're going to prove it too.
We'll agree to disagree. Okay, real quick. I would take their offensive line over them. The running backs, I would say, are pretty comparable. I would take the Panthers' defensive line as well. I would take the Panthers' secondary probably as well. So I think the Bears have better quarterback, wide receiver, and linebacker. But I think the defense for the Panthers. So I think the Panthers have a better defense, but the Bears have a better offense.
I would take quarterback right now.
Yes.
I would take running back, I would put the equal sign. That's fine. Whatever. Yeah. Wide receiver, I think in a landslide is Chicago.
Yes.
Tight ends, I would say Chicago just barely edges them out.
Barely. I wouldn't give it a victory either.
Not very much. Yeah. So the offensive line, I would almost say comparable just because it's not.
I would not. I would absolutely.
Ickey's pretty good. Don't get me wrong, but I've never heard of anybody else.
They have yes. Well, that's the thing though. At least they have a good guy. They have a guy on that line. You guys don't have a guy on that line yet. And the Panthers
we had a Pro Bowler in Cody Whitehair. He wasn't this past year.
Old as dirt. He was going to retire this season. Stop it. Do not try to compare Cody Whitehair to Ickey. They are not on the same level.
I'm just saying we have somebody else. We have somebody It's
You
like
have someone, but they're not on the same tier. So you have to give that one to the Panthers.
okay. Well, strictly right now, I guess I'll give them offensive line just because we don't know what Darnell Wright is just yet.
Exactly,
Defensive
yeah.
line, Derek Brown and Brian Burns, just too good to say one way or another. So I'm just going to give it to the Panthers there. Linebacker core and defensive backs, I'm giving to the Bears. Absolutely.
Well, I'll disagree. I'm going to disagree on the defensive backs. I'm much higher on the defensive backs. I think Jeremy Chin is better than any safety you guys have. And I think the cornerbacks are pretty comparable. So we'll agree to disagree. I think J.C. Horn is a dog and doesn't get enough credit for it. And
J.C. Horn's good. He's good.
Exactly.
I don't think Jalen Johnson gets enough credit.
No, I agree. And that's
really
why I'm saying I think the cornerback rooms are the same, but I like the safety room of the Panthers better. But also I'm a Kyle fan, so but I also he's just really, really good and is a dog. So, but you run down and you're like, oh, well, maybe back and forth. And that's my point. Outside of a few positions, I think your guys' rosters are comparable. I did say the Bears have a better roster. I'm not saying the Panthers are better. I'm just saying I think they're comparable outside of a few positions. Obviously, a few important positions in wide receiver and quarterback. But outside of that, I think it leans either way, and you can go back and forth on pretty much every single position group there. And it's hard to say that, it's hard to evaluate the Panthers quarterback room. You just can't, because they're rookies, just like you can't with Darnell Wright. You can't say one way or the other.
Yeah.
So I think doing this even solidified at least where I stand more on it, where the rosters are very comparable outside of the wide receiver and quarterback room, which the quarterback is a weird discussion, but I do think Fields is obviously better.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Next week,
they're
at home against the Cowboys. Not going to be close. I think the Cowboys take this pretty easily.
Yep.
The week after that, they're heading to Tennessee to take on the Titans. I have them winning this one. This one's Levis versus Young, and Young should be able to take this one. The week after that, they're taking on you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and say this. You can explain yours. The only game they're winning is the last week, and that's going to be against the Buccaneers at home. They're going to lose against the Buccaneers once. They're going to split that. They're going to lose to the Saints in New Orleans. They're going to win against the Falcons. Or no, I'm sorry. They're going to lose against the Falcons at home. They're going to lose against the Packers at home, lose against the Jaguars, and then win against the Buccaneers.
Wow, I have them winning against the Buccaneers, losing against the Saints. As I said, they're going to split with the Falcons, so they're going to win. They're going to lose to the Packers and Jags. And as I said, I think they're going to win both the Buccaneers games. Rounding out a 7-10 schedule for me, and it just looked like they're going to be on the up and up for me. 7-10, I think we're going to be off on this. But again, I'm higher on the Panthers than what you are, and I'm okay saying that.
Let's meet in the middle at 5 wins and call it a day. That's my thing. That secures a top 10 pick, and I'm cool with that,
Oh, I forgot you are going to be rooting against the Panthers. I didn't even think about that one.
Oh, yeah.
I did not think about that. Yeah, no, I that makes sense why you're not going to be high on them this season, I guess. So, but yeah, I have them going 7-10. I think they're going to be a fun young team. I don't think they're going to quite be the way we look at the Lions, but I think they're going to be getting there. The way we look at the Lions this year, I think at the end of next year, we're going to kind of be looking at the Panthers like that. If all goes well with Bryce Young, I know people are Bryce Young haters. I love Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young, literally outside of the size concern, is one of the best quarterback prospects we have seen. Obviously, it's hard to say outside of the size concern because that is a big issue. But if we're talking about just as a passer with his presence and his arm, his ability to make every throw on the field, his ability to be accurate, I think he's up there with all the prospects we've seen so far. So I'm going to predict Bryce Young has a decent season, maybe 25-10 in terms of touchdowns, interceptions, and maybe 60, I'll say 50-55% completion rating. Well, we'd like to see that go up. I think that'll be a little bit ugly. I'll say 22-10. 25 is a little bit strong. I'll say 22-10 for Bryce Young.
22
The
and
reports
10.
out of OTAs for them is that like he's doing very good. And like I know it's like, oh, they want Andy Dalton to start. I don't think that'll happen. I think Bryce Young will continue to like impress and will be the week one starting quarterback. And I really just think he's that good of a passer. I mean, you know how I felt going into the draft in terms of the Bryce Young and Justin Fields thing. So I will say, again, Justin Fields, I think I'd probably rather have over him. But I think almost immediately we're going to see the development in the passer that Bryce is compared to what Justin was. So
okay, just out of curiosity, I'm going to ask you just a few questions. I want you to give me a number, and I'll calculate the QBR that you're projecting him to have. Okay.
Sure.
Pass attempts?
400.
That's completions.
230.
Passing yards?
3,000.
Then you said 22 touchdowns and 10 interceptions?
Yeah.
89.
We'll say 22 and 11 to give it a perfect 2-1.
88.13 passer rating.
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and say I like that. No, I'm going to say 350 for pass attempts. Just because, I mean, the wide receiver core is not really that strong. You're going to be running just a little bit more. Pass completions, I'm going to say, let's see, 350. I'll say 170 out of that. Passing yards. Yeah. Just not just
That's
yet.
That's not good.
Passing yards, I'm going to say, let's see, out of 170, I'm going to put him at like 2,300 maybe. Touchdowns, I'm going to say 23. Interceptions, I'm going to say 14. 75.18 for Bryce Young in his rookie year. I'm going to make a note of that just for why not.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
We should, in a future episode, we should do Will Levis. We should do CJ, since we already, or should we go ahead and do him now? Because we have time.
Yeah, we have time. Why not? I'm looking at like quarterback grades of like rookies coming in their rookie season, and I'm looking at like the stat line that Gardner Minshew put up, and I could see it being very, very comparable to what Gardner Minshew put up his rookie season. Gardner Minshew's rookie season, he played in 14 games. He passed for 470 passes, completed 285, giving him a 60.6 completion rating with 3,270 yards to 21-6. I think that interception rate is going to be a little higher just because he is small and he's going to have to learn how to throw over that offensive line. Yeah. But I think I could see him having that same kind of year that Gardner Minshew did. But obviously, hopefully, he builds on that more than what Gardner Minshew did. But,
yeah. Let's see. All right. So we're going to go ahead and do Will Levis, CJ Stroud, and then Anthony Richardson.
Mm-hmm.
Just because why not? We only have 2 segments left after this.
Well, Anthony Richardson's going to be the hard one, I think, because I think in the same vein that Fields is, his value as a rookie is going to be on the ground more than it's going to be on the as a passer rating. So that's going to be interesting because I think we're going to come out of we'll get to it. All
right. So for Levis, what are you thinking?
Which do you need first?
Pass attempts.
We'll say given he's probably not going to, we'll say 350 because I don't think he's going to start the season.
350. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's completions.
180.
Okay. Pass yards.
250. Like 2,500.
Okay. Touchdowns.
Um, 15.
Interceptions.
12.
74.7.
Yep.
Right,
And ironically, do you want to know what Fields' grade was?
it wasn't good, is what I remember. But
Fields' grade
go
was
ahead.
75.6. So,
Uh,
oh no, that's Teddy Bridgewater's grade. That's ironic. That's Teddy Bridgewater's grade.
I'll take it, Teddy Bridgewater. He was good before he got hurt.
Yeah. No, the reason I thought it was Justin Fields is because I'm on PFF and like they have a picture of Justin Fields and then it says Teddy Bridgewater, so I have no clue why. But yeah, that's what I can see for Will Levis. A lot of turnovers, some mistakes you'd like to see him break down, but shows a little bit of potential with his deep ball.
So I have Levis going 75 for 180. I think that he's not gonna be as great. He didn't even accomplish 50% completion.
You're not letting any of these guys pass for over 50%. That's actually that more than anything is like with the whole Bryce Young thing that throws me off is the fact you didn't even have him as a 50% passer rating because he's like he was a very accurate quarterback in college. But anyways.
Okay. Well, I think that the speed of the game is going to be rough for him starting off, and then he'll pick it up later on, and it's just going to be too much to accomplish straight off the bat. The fact that Bryce Young, he wasn't too far off. 48% completion percentage.
It's just
that's
it's
really
like
bad.
super uncommon. Like I think the rookie, like coming in as a rookie, I think the average completion rating as like a rookie that starts more than 12 games.
I'll bump it up to 190.
6%.
I'll bump it up to 190 out of 350. How about that?
Okay.
The yardage and the touchdowns and interceptions won't change. I'll just change it just a little bit. He's up to what, like, I don't know, 55 or something.
Fine.
I don't care.
I can do 55.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyways, you went off on a tangent.
Yeah. Let's move Levis up to like 97. Okay. So let's see. I know it's a weird number, but whatever. So Levis, wow, that bumps him up. Okay, so yeah, I had 97 completions out of 180 pass attempts, 1,400 yards, 13 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, finishing with an 87.27 passer rating. I don't think that he will play until halfway through the season or maybe even later. So that's why I'm giving him that rating, especially because, just using as reference what they did to Malik Willis.
Well, they did not like Malik, and that's obviously why they drafted. Levis.
Yeah. All right, let's speed through this next couple things because I know that this next segment's gonna take.
This next segment, yeah.
CJ Stroud, pass attempts.
I think he's probably gonna have the most.
Okay.
I'm gonna say he has. Let's say he has 500.
Oh wow. Okay. Pass completions.
300.
Pass yards.
3,400.
Touchdowns.
26.
Interceptions.
10.
89.42.
Yep.
Not bad. What's your thinking behind that?
I think he comes in and I think he's probably going to be the most at least we'll look at his game. I don't know what the stats say when it's all it's like said and done, but I think he's going to come in. I think he's going to be the most accurate of them all. I just don't think he's going to try to make stupid plays. I think he learned throughout his time at Ohio State that sometimes you don't have to play the hero ball all of the time, and it's okay to not play the hero ball and take the checkdowns. But I think of all the quarterbacks, he's probably going to be the quarterback that's most likely going to play all 17 games of the season. And I think the only two quarterbacks that are most likely going to play all 17 games of the season are going to be Richardson and him, but obviously Richardson coming in is underdeveloped as a passer. So that's why I think he's going to have the best passing statistics of them all. So that's my reasoning behind it, at least.
So I have him going for, let's see. All right, 460 pass attempts for 280 pass completions. 3,300 passing yards, 26 touchdowns, and 16 interceptions for 87.05 passing rate.
Yeah, so we're pretty close on that.
Yeah, it's not too far off. And then Anthony Richardson.
He's not going to have – this is going to be rough.
The question mark is what we'll label him. Pass attempts.
I think because he does play the whole year, I think he's still going to have like a decent amount. So I'll put him at like 325.
Okay, pass completions.
I think he's going to be the only quarterback that passes for less than 50% completion, so we're going to put him at 150.
Okay. Pass yards.
2,000.
Touchdowns.
Just passing touchdowns. 14.
Interceptions.
12.
65.16.
Yeah. But I think the thing is they're going to come out just as the Bears fans did. They're going to come out and they're going to say, this dude has a deep ball. This dude has the ability to grow, but he showed so much as a rusher on the ground. And of all the quarterbacks, I think that are poised to like shock anyone, I think it's going to be Anthony Richardson. Obviously, I think I have him as a worst like passing guy of them all, but I would not at all be surprised if he ends the season of like the best. Like, again, I'm not going to have him there just because he's in a class with Bryce Young and the efficient CJ Stroud. But if we come out and people are like, yeah, he played the best quarterback of any of these guys drafted this past season, I wouldn't be surprised. And he'd be my pick for like the dark horse offensive rookie of the year, because I think he absolutely has the potential to explode and be a great passer and be a great runner of the football. So I think if anyone's going to shock and explode of these rookie quarterbacks and have this amazing season like Justin Herbert did, I think when Justin Herbert played, he passed for 32 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. So I think of like any of these guys, if any of them are going to explode and have the season that like Herbert did as a rookie, I think it's going to be Anthony Richardson. But I think Anthony Richardson also probably has the second lowest floor of all these guys behind Will Levis. So it's a high variance with him.
I am in love with the head coach that they got. I think that having the offensive coordinator from a Super Bowl winning team and drafting a quarterback that skill set is similar to Jalen Hurts, that's going to help him out astronomically. So I have Anthony Richardson going 375 passing attempts for 195 pass completions, 3,100 passing yards, 19 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions for a passer rating of 83.42. Nothing completely stunning per se, but pretty solid. For the rookies, not bad. CJ Stroud picking up the best. I mean, just consensus between both of us picking up the best season. So
which is wild because he's in the worst position. Yeah. Yeah. I just think he's efficient. I think he doesn't have the high ceiling as everyone else, but I think he's going to come in and immediately have like a good floor as like at the very worst, like a Ryan Tannehill level, like Ryan Tannehill like 2 years ago, not Ryan Tannehill now, but like at the very worst, he's going to come in and be like Ryan Tannehill of like 2 years ago. So I think he has the highest floor of everyone. So when predicting rookie seasons, I'm looking much more at the floor than I am the ceiling. Because like you said, you're going to come in and like the pace of the game is so much quicker, so much faster. Like the coverage is so much harder, and it like really slaps rookies in the face. So
yeah. Especially when you say that the game's slower than you expected. Anyway, do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, head coach rankings. We're gonna get into this. So I know Ben, what you did. You want to explain what you did really quick, and then I'll explain
Yes.
how our lists are gonna differ.
Yes. So I know what Ryan did. I did a hodgepodge of guys with like who I think are going to be the like putting myself in the GM chair and saying like rank 1 from 32 and who I'd rather have, but then also like a mix of what they've done thus far. So like these rookie guys are going to be they're going to be the last 3. But it's just going to be a mix of some guys that I think like especially at the top it's just going to be guys that have done it and have showed. But especially once we get to like probably like the 22 to 32 range, that's where that variance is going to come in. It's going to be the mix of guys I'd rather have, because I'm going to be honest with you, I'd rather have a guy like D'Amico Ryan or Shane Steichen over a Josh McDaniels, but those guys haven't played yet. So I am going to have them lower because these other guys have coached in the league.
Yeah.
So it's a variance of who I'd rather have up there at top. And then when I get further down my list, it's more of the experience. But definitely at the top, it's more who I'd rather have. And then, like I said, it's the lower we get, it's more of the history than rather who I'd rather have.
Yeah, absolutely. What I did was a little bit different, just because, I decided to just put all of the new coaches, all 5 of the new coaches, in their own TBD section. So even though Sean Payton has, as well as Frank Reich, even though they have coached in the league previously, I love Sean Payton as a coach, and honestly, he would be ranked higher. It's just the thing is,
you didn't have Sean Payton on this list.
I didn't know. And the thing is, just because he has a new team, this is just to be determined. We could do this later. It's totally okay. But the thing is like, there's just no telling. I mean, dude, John Fox came in and coached the Bears, and I was ecstatic about that, right? After a Super Bowl run with the Broncos. John Fox ran that team into the ground. There's no telling what these coaches can do until you've seen them in action already. I have all the faith in the world that Sean Payton will be a decent coach for the Broncos. He is a good, decent coach. Frank Reich, I think that high expectations for him. The Panthers are going to be on the up and coming. I believe that. It's just right now not a great situation to be in. D'Amico Ryan's another, coach I'm excited to see. It's just, Shane Steichen, we literally just talked about him with Anthony Richardson. Can't wait to see what he can do, but I cannot project that. And I will not, and I just find it unfair to rank them higher than coaches that have been coaching recently, or just have coached before, compared to these other guys. So that's my standpoint on this. I gotta say, as I was doing this list, right, I have a pretty. Now, I'm not gonna say that we're gonna agree on everything, because odds are, I mean, there's 32 coaches. Like, they're gonna be out of order because our viewpoints are gonna switch up. However, I think the top 10 to maybe even 15 coaches
are gonna be similar.
They're going to be the top. 15 coaches deserve to be in that top 15 spot. And I think that we'll agree with that. It's just the order in which we've placed them.
I will say probably the top 17. For me, it's like top 17. So the top like half of the league coaches we're going to agree upon. Because even like 16 and 17, like my guy at 17, I'd like to have higher. I just can't yet. But for me, it's like 1 through 5 is pretty stable. Like for me, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like that is how it is. And then like 6 through like 11, it was really, really hard for me to decipher who I'm going to put in front of who. Like I see who like Brian Dabble, and we'll get to it, is like all the way at 9. And saying that, like Brian Dabble at 9, there are guys that like I could have him higher than 9, but so it's tough. So the 6 through like 11, the 6 through 12 spot for me, it was really tough to like decipher like where to put who. So before we go into this and people see like where coaches are ranked, like I have Pete Carroll all the way down at 12, and some fans are like the 12th best head coach. Are you stupid? But like, again, 6 through 12, like, could be interchangeable. It was just the way that I had it like shaked out.
Absolutely.
So just like going into that, I want people to know that, so people aren't like, I don't get like this like awful reaction out of people.
So this first coach, I think, is pretty cut and dry. Andy Reid is my number one. I think these top 4 are pretty cut and dry as well. I have Sean McDermott at number 2.
Wow, I don't have Sean McDermott close to that. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Okay, yeah. I like what he's done with the team in general. I like the culture of it. I love just everything that they've established. And not only that, but I mean, Josh Allen's development is just pretty solid. The chemistry with that as well. Pretty good. You know what? Just to make this a little bit quicker, do you mind if I run through my entire list and then we'll just break it down?
Just run through your top 5.
Top 5. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Nick
Sirianni's number 3. I think that for Philly, just to make the run that they did and everything.
Yeah.
Also the development of Jalen Hurts so quick was really impressive. So I like that a lot. Zach Taylor with the Bengals, number 4. Just overall, not really having too much to work with that offensive line. Joe Burrow and everything, the way that he's been able to coach Joe Burrow up into the league and make him the elite quarterback that he is, that's pretty huge. And then number 5, Kyle Shanahan with the 49ers. So, and keep in mind as well. So I know that you're making the reactions that you are and everything.
Yes.
Our lists are different. Our lists are very much
yes.
different.
Yes.
So that's why I understand that.
Yeah.
Going into the season though, like that's probably why, that's my
fair.
top 5.
Yes. Yeah. Like you said, our lists are different, and it's definitely it's gonna show. Yeah. Number 1 is Andy Reid. Even when you take into account what Bill Belichick has done, Andy Reid's dominance over the last 4 years with Patrick Mahomes has just been absolutely absurd. Number 2, I have the best coach to ever do it all time. It's Bill Belichick. And I think the fact, and like you said, if I was going to start a franchise today, I probably wouldn't pick Bill Belichick just because he's on his way like up and out. But Belichick, like, he deserves his flowers. So that's why he's at number 2. Number 3, some people might disagree with this, but I think consensus people like would be okay with this. I have Mike Tomlin. The dude has never had a losing season ever. Like, he just doesn't lose. And if I'm hiring someone, I'm going to want to hire a coach that like literally does not lose. And then number 4, I have Kyle Shanahan. We had a conversation last year about just the best offensive head coach in the league. I think that's Kyle Shanahan. His scheme is just absolutely absurd, as we've seen with his ability for like players to step in and kind of do their job. So Kyle Shanahan, just because he's just an amazing offensive mind. And then number 5, I have John Harbaugh. It's the same thing for Mike Tomlin. He just has had success for a very, very long time, and he just seems like he knows how to get through to his players and to continuously win. There's not many guys on this list that have coached more than 5 years, like consecutive with their same team. I think the only guys that have are Andy Reid, Mike Tomlin, Bill Belichick, Kyle Shanahan, and John Harbaugh. Those are the only 5. What? Oh, and Pete Carroll. Yes. Yeah. So those are the only 6 guys that have like consecutively coached their team for more than 5 years. And it shows, at least in my list, and obviously our lists are different, but I mean, obviously these guys know what they're doing and they're in the top 5, or they are the top 5 for a reason. So, and then from here, I'm good to go if you want to do 6. For me, it's 6 through 17 where the tier list drops off. But if you want to do like 6 through 15, but just if you want to just run through that next chunk of coaches. Yeah.
6 is Bill Belichick. This guy, he's coached everything from offense to defense. Looking at it, he started off, believe it or not, at some point in that start in the league, he started coaching receivers, and then he moved to defense, and defense has been primarily his thing. And I mean, defense was the only good thing about that Patriots team last year, and somehow they got out coached by Matt Eberflus. So that's awesome. But anyways, yeah, Bill Belichick, it's hard to just kind of shut him down after what he's done. And to be honest with you, you can just never count him out. It's Bill Belichick. So number 7 is probably my favorite coach in the entire league, Mike McDaniel with the Dolphins. I love Mike McDaniel so much. He's just an awesome character. And then number 8 is Dan Campbell, another awesome character that's going to break the top 10. He's good. I mean, this Lions team, the culture of it, everything has turned around a complete 180, and I credit Dan Campbell for that because it was initialized, it was put in, initiated, it was put into motion the first day he stepped into the facility. He started tearing up as soon as he walked into the practice facility. This man is devoted, he is passionate, and this is everything you want in a head coach. Number 9, Pete Carroll. I mean, the Seahawks had nothing going for them in the beginning of last offseason. We had them going, just having a horrible season. We were like, Geno Smith is your quarterback? Are you kidding me? And then Pete Carroll made it work. And that, I believe, is just a product of the system. I think that, Geno Smith can perform like, and I'm not saying like he will be as good as, but he can perform in the same way that Russell Wilson did. I'm very much tiptoeing around that, though, because Russell Wilson was very good in Seattle. But anyways, Pete Carroll's number 9. Number 10, Brian Dabble. And again, another culture changer. I mean, just phenomenal turnaround with that Giants team. The Giants team was horrible. And I know because I saw that firsthand at the end of the 2021 season. And for what he was able to do in 2022 and make Saquon again, that was good. Number 11, which I kind of forgot existed for a little bit, John Harbaugh, but this is the perfect spot for him. John Harbaugh, I mean, he's made a few questionable decisions late in games that have cost him games. And for that, I remember having a lot of debate in the fantasy football group chats, like, what is this guy doing? For that, he's going to drop a few more spots. He probably would be higher than that Mike McDaniel, Dan Campbell, Pete Carroll, Brian Dabble spot. But, right now he's fallen just a little bit and, whatever. Mike Vrabel at number 12. This guy's been able to do some pretty phenomenal things with the Titans that were once a joke, a laughing stock of the league. I credit Derrick Henry a lot for that, but at the same exact time, Mike Vrabel's the head coach. He makes the calls. And so with that, he's able to manage the game very well. In the playoffs as well, he's a pretty decent performer. He can definitely, put on a good enough show and keep his team in the game no matter who they're playing. It's pretty interesting, to be honest with you. But the Titans didn't have all that much to work with this past year, and that's why it was such a down year. Number 13, you're familiar with him. It's Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson with the Jaguars. I mean, holy cow, man. What a turnaround. Him and Trevor Lawrence seem to be that pair that's going to be linked up for the, next few years.
Yep.
It's going to be pretty solid. I love Doug Peterson for that. I mean, he was having a lot of fun out there, and how can you hate a guy that's having a bunch of fun, unless his name's Matt LaFleur. Sean McVay at number 14. I can't help but think this might be a little bit high. He had a very bad year last year, but then again, he led the Rams to a Super Bowl the year before. So the Rams are very injury plagued. I think that this is okay to have them in the top 15. That's almost like an insurance pick. If it's not going to be top 10, have them in top 15. Pretty solid, very creative. I'd like to say that I would model my offense around him. But he's a lot of fun when things are taken off. Otherwise, when things are looking down, he's almost already defeated. And that's why I kind of don't like him here. And at number 15, the most winning head coach in football, like you said, Mike Tomlin with the Steelers. I'm hoping that he can turn it around just a little bit more as far as initiate a little bit more of that winning culture, inject it a little bit more into that roster, maybe create a wild card team out of it. He's not going to win the division with this team, but if you can create a wild card team and maybe shock some people in the playoffs, it's going to be Mike Tomlin that's going to do it. So that's 6 through 15 for me.
Yes. And as we go through this, I'm highlighting the guys that we are most different on, and then also kind of speed through my list a little bit faster because most of my list of guys that you guys have covered. So there's no need for me to really go too much in depth on this part. And then I'm highlighting guys that we're super far apart on, and then I'll just quickly go over it once we're all said and done.
Yeah.
But yeah, number 6, Nick Sirianni, my guy. Number 7, it's Sean McDermott. The only reason he's this low is because he is what the Bills franchise has been throughout the entire history of the Bills franchise. They get very, very close to being good, but they can never complete the job. That being said, I have a dude you left off this list at 8. I have Sean Payton. I think Sean Payton was one of the best head coaches in the league when he played. He has a history of coaching smaller guys. I think he's going to come in and he's going to just continue to do that. I have Brian Daboll at 9. Sean McVay is one of the first dudes that I'm higher on, at least marginally higher on than you are. I think he just had very, very bad luck with how many injuries he had this past season. And just like also the team doesn't look very good now, and that's more of a GM problem than it is a head coaching problem. 11, I have Dougie P. No love lost for him. Out of 12, I have Pete Carroll. He's just very, very good. But I wouldn't be surprised here in a few years that he's on his way out just because of his age and his team around him. And then a dude that these next 2 guys are 2 dudes that you're much higher on than I am. That's Zach Taylor at 13 and Mike McDaniel at 14. And then a dude at 15 that I'm going to go down to 17 because this is where my tier ends. Dude at 15, someone you haven't named. I'm going to bump him down a little bit, actually. But at 15, I will actually have Dan Campbell. And then a dude that reminds me so much of Dan Campbell, Mike Vrabel. These guys just give off like the hard guy aura to them. And then at 17, a guy that you haven't yet named that I kind of last minute looking at my list bumped down is Matt LaFleur. And then at 17 on, so coaches like 18, 19 and on, it's just like those 17 coaches are like the cream of the crop, guys that are very, very good. I couldn't make the case for 18, but everything past that are guys that are either unknown or just bad in my opinion. So,
yeah. So 17, what chunk do you want me to do? Because I have 17 through 27 left.
Just do 17 through 27. Just go for it. Rip it off.
Okay. 17. Okay. First off, I'm not going to reveal it just yet, but where do you think I have Matt Eberflus?
My guess is you have Matt Eberflus. You said you 17 through 27 is what you have ranked?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My guess is you have Eberflus.
With my Bears bias in mind and everything like that, what do you think?
23.
Okay. All right. At 17, I have Kevin Stefanski with the Browns. Just his history as a coach and what I think he can do with this team isn't good enough to put him anything higher than 17. But him with Deshaun Watson should be pretty fun. Kevin O'Connell with the Vikings at 18. I have him pretty far down despite a pretty decent first year, specifically because of his performance in the playoffs. Not good. Brandon Staley at 19 with the Chargers, I think might be a little high, to be honest with you, but I just don't like the rest of these coaches, so that's why it's kind of like by default. Brandon Staley, I feel like, man, you got a lot of growth. So, like, you set the bar very low. I hope that your team can stay healthy because, I mean, at the end of the day, that might be the only excuse that you have. Mike McCarthy at number 20. Screw this guy. So if you're a longtime listener, you guys know what that reference is. Mike McCarthy, like I said, a lot of questionable decisions and not as much as John Harbaugh, but a lot of questionable decisions. And some people would probably even argue that I have him at number 20, but who knows? Robert Saleh as the Jets at number 21. A whole lot of ugly with this so far, but I think that he could turn it around with this current system, the people that he has in the building as well. This team's on the up and coming. Number 22, Ron Rivera. So this is a little iffy as well, just because, I mean, this team is not good. His decision-making is okay, but the thing is he's able to rally his team. What he was able to do against Chicago, and a horrible, horrible game. The backstory behind it and everything, from what I remember, the rally that he was able to get the guys going and everything like that on prime time. His defense as well, historically, has just been pretty good. So I'll have Ron Rivera here. And at 23, you guessed it, it's Matt Eberflus.
Hey.
So Matt Eberflus, I really like his hit principle. He was able to keep his team in the game for a lot of pretty decent performance against really good teams with nothing to work with. So I'm excited for the season to see what this coach can do. The hits principle, I cannot emphasize on this enough because a lot of people don't know about it. This hits principle is going to work. It's going to be good. And the people that they're bringing in the building isn't just because, oh man, like I understand this is who knows who Andrew Billings is at the moment besides you because you're a freak with Weddle. Andrew Billings is not a big name, but the thing is that he fits the system and he's going to be a good veteran presence with the younger guys as well. And so with that, being able to discover that and find talent and stuff like that, I'm looking forward to see what he can do. Todd Bowles with the Buccaneers at 24. Whole lot of ugly with this team. The last few is just a whole lot of gross, so I'm not even going to focus on it too much. Dennis Allen with the Saints at 25. Josh McDaniels with the Raiders at number 26, and Arthur Smith with the Falcons at 27. Just a whole lot of gross there. But yeah, I'm not going to put my coach Eberflus up there in the early teens until probably at the end of next season. I think that's going to be my window.
Yes.
I don't think that my rankings are crazy. I don't think that they're super outlandish. I feel like last year, if I had done this, it would have been like, what is this guy talking about? I think we've seen a lot of football. I think that we've analyzed a lot of football. And if you're new here, please give us a follow. But Ben, what's the rest of your list look like?
Yes. I ranked all of them, all 32 head coaches. Obviously, the 3 new guys I have all the way at the bottom just because they are new. As tempted as I was to put like someone like D'Amico Ryan and Shane Steichen above these guys there at the bottom, I just couldn't. But yeah, at 18, the guy that I said like could kind of make the push into like that top 17 list was the guy that you talked about like right off the bat as well as Kevin O'Connell. I think he's good, but he's nothing special. That's why he's at 18. He's just like a middle head coach. There's nothing crazy. Like I don't think he's this offensive mastermind or anything, but there he is. And then ironically, I have the other Kevin. I have Kevin Stefanski. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name.
Stefanski.
I'm not. Yeah. I have him there. And then at 20, I have Frank Reich, another guy you left off your list. I'm kind of a Frank guy here, both Frank Reich and Hot Dog.
Hold on 1 second. You're starting to break up a little bit. Can you like plug your mic in or like unplug your mic, plug it back in?
How's this?
There we go. There
it is. Yeah, I have Frank Reich at 20. I'm a Frank guy, both Frank Reich and Hot Dogs. But I like Frank, and I couldn't not rank him ahead of these next guys. These next guys here after like 20. So from 20 to 29, it's just yuck for me so far. For the most part, it's either yuck or unproven. Like Matt Eberflus is in this list, but that's like no shot on him. He just hasn't had much time. But yeah, at 21, I have Mike McCarthy. I literally just think the only reason he has a job is because Aaron Rodgers. I really don't think he's good at all. I mean, we saw how he ended that game against the Buccaneers in the playoffs with Zeke at center and all that. It's just weird. I don't know. It's bad. I have no clue. And I was actually almost tempted to rank the number 22 in front of him, Robert Saleh. I think he is a defensive guy. He obviously has a good defensive scheme. It's just a matter of his offense. He hasn't yet produced there. And then I really wanted to put Eberflus above this guy, but I couldn't. So at 23, I have Arthur Smith. I'm not an Arthur Smith guy. I just couldn't put Eberflus here just yet, just because he hasn't done anything. But I do think Eberflus is a better coach. So this is where it goes to like history mixed with who I'd rather have. But yeah, I have Eberflus at 24, so not too far behind you. At 25, we're right up there in line with Dennis Allen. At 26, a dude I have lower than you, Brandon Staley. I just think this dude is booty cheeks and should not be coaching a team. I have no clue how he has a job. I understand he relies on statistics, and that's his whole coaching thing. But you cannot let what he did in the playoffs slide. And he has not been able
My bad, I'm watching
He hasn't been able to produce as well as like what you would have liked with the team that he has around him. At 27, I have Ron Rivera. I would be surprised if he's a head coach after this year. At 27, I have Josh McDaniels. And then rounding out the head coaches that have actually coached, I have Todd Bowles. I just think Todd Bowles is bad. As we've gone over with last year with how bad that offense has been, and then even just like we went over with the Buccaneers, I don't think they're going to be good. I just don't think Todd Bowles is very good. So he's ranked as the worst head coach of the coaches that have had experience. And then I have D'Amico Ryan and Shane Steichen at like 30 and 31, but those guys are in the same tier. Then Gannon is the worst head coach. I truly do believe Gannon is just the worst head coach, whether he's a rookie or not. But again, like this goes back to it. Like I'd have D'Amico Ryan and Shane Steichen probably up there with Matt Eberflus. I'd have them ranked in front of guys with Dennis Allen, Brandon Staley, Ron Rivera, Josh McDaniels, and Todd Bowles. Without a doubt, I'd rather take these two guys above those guys. But again, as I said, the list is a bit different than what yours is. But I went back through, I highlighted 6 guys that we were most indifferent on. The 2 guys I were marginally higher on than you were Mike Tomlin and Sean McVay. The 3 guys that you were marginally higher on than me were Zach Taylor, Mike McDaniels, and Dan Campbell. And then the 6th dude that I highlighted, which is kind of no fault of your own, it just happened to be happenstance. I think we both are on the same page with this guy, is Brandon Staley. You're higher on Brandon Staley than me, but again, I just think it's happenstance because of the tier he's in. But yeah, Zach Taylor, Mike McDaniels, and Dan Campbell are the guys you're higher on than me. So
makes sense though. I mean, it's not horrible, and like I said, the lists are a little bit different, so it's okay.
Yes.
For those of you that heard the little audio clip, I'm sorry. I was watching a beautiful video of Justin Fields connecting with DJ Moore during practice
at the back of the end zone.
Yeah, it was such a tight window too.
I know
it's
exactly
so great.
what we're talking about. Him and his orange visor. Like, I really try not to make this a Bears podcast just because, like an NFL podcast, but it's so hard to not talk about the Bears sometimes. And this is coming from an Eagles fan, but like he looks clean in his.
You're talking visor. DJ or Justin?
Both of them, but I was talking about Justin, and they won't be able to wear it in game because like regulation and stuff. But like he looks good in his orange visor. It's very awesome. Very clean look.
It's the chemistry too because they wear the same exact visor. Just a little note. Yep. So the chemistry has been unmatched and everything. They're saying the connection looks very good. So I'm very excited for that. But let's get into our next segment.
It's time for America's favorite game, Weddle.
All right. So we have Weddle to do. I'm going to go ahead. Yeah. I mean, we can play it, but I mean, I don't know if we'll play it very well. Anyway, so let's get right into it. I don't care, man. You can go first this week, or if you could decide.
Sure, I'll go first if it'll help. We'll go with AJ Brown again. If you guys don't know the rules at this point, just watch along and figure out.
Yeah. All right. So it's an AFC player. I'm gonna go
a young
with Jonathan
AFC player.
Okay, it's a running back.
Running back, young AFC. I'm looking at the number, which kind of sucks because I'm gonna go with Breece Hall.
I was gonna say that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, but I think he wears number 24. He's 20. Okay, well now I know who it is.
AFC East.
Young guy in the AFC East.
I'm thinking James Cook.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, hard mode. You want first or second?
I'll go second. I'll take second.
I like AJ Klein, the former Bear. Oh, it's a linebacker. What a snipe.
Linebacker. Ooh, it would be kind of crazy here. TJ Edwards.
Oh, but it's 26.
I was hoping. I saw the number.
Sense.
I saw the number and the age and the height, and I was like, it's TJ.
All right, so it's a NFC linebacker. Who does he play for? Lane Vander Esch plays for. Okay. All right.
So that means he's either in the South or
Leighton Vander Esch wasn't a bad guess.
No, I don't think the numbers line up here, but I know the age does, and I don't think the height lines up. But I'm going to kind of help us here, hopefully. Zach Baum. I think it's Zach with CH.
Zach.
Maybe it's KH. Try BA. I don't know how to spell Baum. Yeah, there it is. BAUN. You're kidding.
So I'm going to go Fred Warner. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Nice. That's so wild that Fred Warner was in hard mode and James Cook was in easy mode. Like, I did not even think of Fred.
Got both rounds.
What?
I got both rounds.
Yes, nice. I would not have guessed Fred Warner, like, to the point that, like, I'm like, there's no way it's Fred Warner. Especially, like, the last 3 times we've played, it's been, like, third string, like, linebacker.
Third string.
Just the most
third string
guys.
Punt returner. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, it's been like the most absurd guys, and then they're like, "Yeah, we'll give you the best linebacker in the NFL."
Yeah, best linebacker, and then Dalvin Cook's brother.
Dalvin Cook's brother. It would, like, if you switch them. I obviously you can't do defense on the easy mode, but like they should have been switched, and that would have made more sense.
Yeah.
But nice, we finally won one.
I'm happy. All right, so that makes it 23-14 on the show. Woo! All right. Anyway, if you made it this far, we want to say thank you. This is concluding. We are going to finish up the NFC South next week, and hopefully we'll have a guest on. So stay tuned for that. Lots of stuff planned for next week as well. Hopefully we'll have a little bit more news for you guys. But we want to thank Overtime Sports Network, Regional Radio Sports Network, Uppercuts Grooming, and Spotify for Podcasters for helping us branch out and, help you guys listen to this. And if you're still new here, follow us on any of our socials that I listed, in this little graphic. Yeah, everything's up and down. We made it pretty visible for you guys so you can check it out. So without further ado, that'll be it for this week's Pigskin Project, and we'll see you guys next week.